All right, so hello everyone, and thank you for joining our ASA course for today. So ASA course is a 3-day course which focusing on the security features as well as performance features of Cloudflare. So this is an advanced course. So the expectation is you should be able to understand what are Cloudflare core offerings. You know how to do basic implementation of Cloudflare, onboarding, full name setup, CNAME setup, and then you are familiar with Cloudflare dashboard configuration. Might not be in depth, but at least you know what is the firewall function, where to configure DNS, what is the basic SSL mode that you need to choose. So these are all very basic. And today we are going to go deeper into what are the security features that Cloudflare has to offer. And because this is an advanced course, we would like to have your participation. We want you to try out the hands-on lab as well as asking questions. If you do not ask questions, then we will ask questions to you, and then we will appreciate if you can try to answer or a response. The agenda for today, so troubleshooting Cloudflare, how long? Manage security. Okay, I think this one is not updated from the last chat. But the agenda for today will be, we will be covering the DNSSEC, and then Firewall, and DDoS, how Cloudflare protects DDoS, and then Cloudflare WAF. So what you should already know is first the 3 key values on why Cloudflare. So if the customer asks you, why should I choose Cloudflare? So these are the 3 answers that you can refer to. So first is Cloudflare network scale. So Cloudflare product has an integrated solution that spans across 200 data centers. So all the data centers will be able to serve the same functionality. The second is our Anycast network. So our Anycast network is the key reason why Cloudflare is able to do unlimited DDoS mitigation. Because whether it is an attack or whether it is a request, it will always be served at the, or it is always be blocked at the data center close to the visitor. So that is why Anycast network understanding is very, very important. And as the pre-sales or even doing the implementation, you are the post-sales, you need to be able to explain this to your customers or even prospects. Last but not least, single pane of glass security solution across multiple environments, which means that Cloudflare provides a single dashboard which is designed to be easy to use, user-friendly to our customers. So a lot of customers think that configuring security solution is really too complicated, but with Cloudflare, we try to make it as simple as possible to the customer. However, simple does not mean that it is rigid, because Cloudflare solution, even though simple, you have capability to actually customize and make flexibility to make multiple options or choices when you configure that. Let's say if you want to use Cloudflare workers, you want to make a custom business logic, then you can combine and use different types of solutions. So what are Cloudflare security solutions? Cloudflare solution span from, based on the OSI layer, spans across layer 1 to layer 7. Cloudflare solution starts with layer 7, where we provide the CDN, we provide authoritative DNS, WAF, load balancing, Argo. And then on top of that, we add on additional features, bot management, as well as video streaming. At the layer 4 transport layer, Cloudflare security solutions includes those applications that is not running on the standard HTTP and HTTPS port. So this one is Spectrum, and then you can combine Spectrum with Argo, which is our smart routing. We will cover this in the performance module, but in fact, we already covered this in HCE module last week. On the network layer, so this is our new offering, whereby Cloudflare is also capable to protect customer IP prefix or data center using our product called Magic Transit. Okay. So Magic Transit is a new product that we introduced last year. Actually, it is not a purely new product because Cloudflare has been using Magic Transit ourselves to protect our own network. The difference is now, since we have been using that for ourselves, then the product team thinks that why don't we productize this and offer to the customer? So because of that, then that is where Magic Transit comes from. So we extend our capability to also protect customer IP prefix through the GRE tunnel and BGP Anycast. Last but not least, a new offering that we also offer, which is Network Interconnect, or CNI, Cloudflare Network Interconnect, whereby for customers that have or wants to have a connectivity directly to Cloudflare data center or Cloudflare network, it is also possible by implementing Network Interconnect. So this can be physical, can be logical. So this is the mapping between our security services into security use cases, 3 key security use cases that Cloudflare has. So what are the solutions to mitigate DDoS attacks? So first, you can use Anycast network, IP reputation. Heuristic-based mitigation is actually bot management. You can use rate limiting, DNSSEC, Spectrum, Argo tunnel, as well as workers if you add additional business logic to it. To secure applications and API, what are the products you can use? From WAF, rate limiting, this is to protect against API brute force attack, DNS, DNSSEC, Argo tunnel, SSL, Cloudflare access, as well as workers. To block malicious bots, so when we are talking about bots, we are talking about automated attack, types of attack, which is usually goes directly to the application layer. So it does not attack the network. So if applications, then it goes to WAF, bot mitigation, but sometimes IP reputation also affects if, let's say, this bot coming from a certain network, so Cloudflare will mark that IP source as bad, and that is where the IP reputation gets updated, IP reputation database. What are the step-by-step when we are talking about security services? I believe in the ACE last week, we are talking about life of a request. What are the steps when there is a request coming from, let's say, a browser or an application, when it goes and target to the origin? So what are the steps? It goes routed to the Cloudflare network. There is a DNS, and then there is a performance mitigations, and then there is a security improvement before it reaches origin. After it fetches the content from the origin, and then it moves back what are the process being done at our edge. So now we go in depth into the security portion. So what are the step-by-step in the part of security that Cloudflare did when we analyze a traffic request? So first, of course, DNS resolution will take place. And then if the DNSSEC is being configured, then there will be a checking to the DNSSEC hash. After that, the automated DDoS protection will take place. Moving on, after DDoS check, it will be HTTPS termination. So this is where SSL and TLS check. After SSL and TLS check, there will be a layer 7 mitigation. So layer 7 application, this is where the WAF, rate limiting, IP firewall rules will take place. And then in the end, not actually, second to the end is WAF, web application firewall, where it will check the traffic request. Let's say if it is a WAF is usually based on HTTP and HTTPS traffic, so it will try to look at the signature. Is it a GET request, POST request, a header request? Is there anything that matches the algorithm that we set in our WAF rules? After this will be bot mitigation policies. So this is where we actually will be covering how our bot mitigation works in, I think, tomorrow's session, to go in depth into what are the rules you can implement to target and monitor the bot traffic in your environment. After this, then it will pass, and then the traffic will be going to the performance piece of Cloudflare. Of course, along the way, there are customers that using our other products. Spectrum, I did mention earlier, so Spectrum is to protect the applications that is using custom port, or so custom port as well as custom protocol. So Spectrum, Access, Argo Tunnel, so this will not be covered in today's session. Spectrum we will cover, but Access, Argo Tunnel, Workers is not. For Orbit, this is a bit a unique kind of a solution. So Orbit is a solution to secure and authenticated connection between, we can say it's not only IoT device, but we can say it is a smart device where the manufacturer can install an SSL certificate. So whenever this device wants to talk to their server's origin, it has to be authenticated by Cloudflare first before it allows access to origin. So Orbit is essentially mutual TLS and TLS solutions, which works together with Cloudflare Access. And then currently, there are also a new solutions, if you are well aware, which is called API Shield. So API Shield uses a similar concept, which is using mutual TLS together with firewall rules. So detailed security services. Actually, understanding this will help you when you are doing troubleshooting and help the customer when you are having a configuration changes. Note that this is the process that that can be constantly changed as and when Cloudflare introduce or add new solutions or new offering. But as of now, this is, we can say, pretty valid. So the behavior when you see or you want to troubleshoot something, right? First, when a request hits a Cloudflare server or Cloudflare network, so it will hit the DNS or we will say gatekeeper first. Gatekeeper, and then Cloudflare will do a request check based on the DNS. So if the DNS check continue, then this is ESC, which we call edge side code. Edge side code is going to be deprecated and actually is going to be combined with Cloudflare Workers. And then internal DNS, it will check. After that, it will activate page rules. So if you remember in the last session, in the ACE session, page rules is a feature to customize a behavior or for a certain URL. So it can be performance side. You can add caching. You can also modify the security behavior. Let's say you want to change the SSL subtask, or you want to change the security level, etc. So this is why if there are page rules that is related to the security, it will be checked here. Moving on, it will hit the IP firewall or IP access rules. So this is where Cloudflare will check whether there's a certain IP that is set in customer dashboard is being whitelist or blacklist. So if blacklist, it means that it will automatically block here. If it is whitelist, it will not check further on the traffic request or on the content itself. It will automatically go through origin. After this, then firewall rules will take place. So after firewall rules, there will be additional security feature called zone lockdown, user agent checking, browser integrity check, or hot linking protection. So if it passed this one, which means that it doesn't hit any of the rules that you set to block, then it will go through. And it will go to the DDoS mitigation or IP reputation engine. If this one also passed and Cloudflare determined that this request is not a DDoS attack, it does not hit any IP reputation database, it does not mark as bad, then it will go through. If it is marked as bad, then Cloudflare will do a block, or it can do a capture challenge as well. Moving on will be rate limiting. So rate limiting, it will check whether a certain IP source has hit a certain threshold, like how many times it has hit Cloudflare resource. After that, Cloudflare access will take place. So if access, there is no access, then is there any country blocks being configured? After this, if it match or there is any challenge being applied when there is I am under attack mode being applied, then it will give the JavaScript challenge before it returns or allow the request. After that, it will go to IP scoring. So this is still in the gateboard. High, medium, low, or off. Then it will still go back to page rule if there are any redirect. So 301 or 302, temporary redirect or permanent redirect. If this is also passed, then it will go through WAF. After WAF, then it will go to any worker's script run. If this one is also passed, then it will go to performance, which is Nginx cache, to see if there are any static content that they can be response back to client. If not, then it will go to origin pool. So the final response to client, what your client can expect is 4 to 9 is usually due to the rate limiting. Ask you to retry after a few minutes, a few seconds or hours. 503, it will just say rejected or server down. If it is blocked by Cloudflare or it is being banned, there is a ban error. 403, forbidden. So it is being blocked. Let me stop here, and I would like to take a look if there are any questions.
Yeah, there is a question for Krisanti. I've been answering it in text, but obviously the question is, what's the difference between zone lockdown and country blocks?
Yes, this is a good question. So Yeah, as what Camila answered, zone lockdown is to lock a specific part of the website. So usually it's your either login page or admin page, and to limit that access to a certain number of IP. Where for country blocks means that it is the whole country, then you will block. And of course, country blocks you will block. You can actually configure in the firewall rules. Either you want to block a certain URL from the countries, the whole country itself. And then, yeah, so I think that's all. Yeah, let me continue. Okay, DNS and DNSSEC. Camila, would you like to cover this?
Absolutely.
Let me unshare my screen.
Yep, I'm going to start sharing the screen. And guys, we're going to certainly go into all the details. You will see it everything online, what's happening. Definitely, you will see the difference on zone lockdown, IP firewalls, everything when we start doing the labs. All right, so DNS and DNSSEC. So majority of you probably already familiar with how DNS work. It's basically the phone book of the internet, and Cloudflare DNS is specifically, it's decentralized. As you know, on every single data center of Cloudflare, we have every single piece of our features and products that we run, especially DNS. So the way the DNS works, it's always looking at the root domain on top level TLD and looking for information like, hey, what's the IP address for that specific DNS? If using Cloudflare name servers as the authoritative DNS, so they basically provide that information. But many times can happen then hackers or any malicious, let's say, faces, they can actually spoof that information. And instead of sending the original IP, they can send you the spoofed IP. So in this case, the DNS, that actually DNSSEC, what will help you to get that additional level of protection. So I'm just going over the slide. Sorry, it just like was showing that the level of which one the check of the information is happening in internet, going through the root domain, going to TLD, and going after to that specific name server that is using the DNS. So as you can see, there is a places where this information can be spoofed. Right, so what's happening with DNS and what it is DNS? It can explain like and get the similarity of how actually today HTTP, HTTPS work. So if we're using just a simple DNS as we all use today, it's just like information that is open, and it's the same like HTTP. But once we add the certificate to it, HTTPS, so that's the secure connection is something that now is hard to spoof. This is the same with DNSSEC. Once you add in DNSSEC protection to your DNS records, so that moment it has to go and get a specific DS records or other type of records that's specific for DNSSEC added to your registrar to make sure that every request is signed. So whenever there is a request to DNS happening, it's always looking for that DS records, and if they're in place, see the signature on it to make sure that it's secured, it's correct, and only after serve it. So not every registrar supports it, so you need to look at it. Cloudflare obviously started it, so we have that access to it and we supporting it, but you have to know on which setup it's supported, and we get to that question later in the presentation. So I want to show you how you can check if the DNSSEC records set up correctly or not. There is actually a good website. It's called dnswiz.net. So I suggest you to write it down or bookmark it, where you can always get to that specific domain. In my case, it's cf-analytics.com domain. You can run the update, analyze, and get the DNSSEC. So what it does is actually checking if there is any issues with the signatures and if there is a presence of DNS records or not, and from where they actually got served. So you can see how it actually works with explanation what's happening. And all the way down to the bottom, you can actually see what's the DNS that actually been used for it and the DNS records in place. So that's really helpful if you want to look at it. And we will see on one of the slides, like where is, for example, missing information, and you can actually debug it with either DIG or with this website. How we're going to do it in Cloudflare, where we find DNSSEC. So let's have a look at the Cloudflare UI. So we are in the top DNS, and you all should be able to see it once you log in into Cloudflare. If you scroll all the way down, under the name servers, you have a custom name servers, and you have a DNSSEC here. So basically you have, like, by default, it's off, it's switched off, and you need to press the button in order to activate or enable DNSSEC. Once you click on it, it takes usually 24 hours before it actually adds that DS records and generate them for you. But basically, if you need to see more information, you can always look at how does DNSSEC work. But in Cloudflare is always very simple. You just click the button and it will take care of it. And since we are managing the DNS, we are authoritative DNS provider for that domain, so they actually take care of the DS records and adding them to the DNS. So as we go back to the presentation, so we'll just follow the steps, go into Cloudflare dashboards, make sure that you are using Cloudflare DNS as authoritative DNS provider. You will see the DNSSEC there, enable DNSSEC, and it will actually show you status pending. And once it's actually added DS records, it's actually done. If you use another registrar who does support DNS records, Cloudflare will simply show you that DS records that you need to copy and paste in your registrar. And again, within 24 hours, it should be identified and added. So that's all you need to do. So a customer intends to implement Cloudflare DNSSEC with CNAME setup, not full zone setup. What's your recommendation here?
Yep. Anyone wants to answer in the chat? Or you can raise your hand if you want to answer live. And we have another question as well, Camila.
Good. I'll just have a look at them.
Yeah. Does DNSSEC require subscription, or is it already bundled in the domain?
Great. So DNSSEC comes already with Cloudflare by default. So even on free website, on free plan, you can still get DNSSEC as long as you're using Cloudflare as a registrar, for example, or you have supported a registrar, the DNSSEC. So my domain, cf-analytic.com, using Cloudflare as a registrar and Cloudflare as an authoritative DNS provider. So that's why I'm able to do that everything within. So no, in spite of your plan, it comes with it as long as your registrar supports it.
Yeah.
Right. So let's have a look. Exactly, Calvin.
Yeah, we have one.
Totally right. Yep.
Yes.
DNSSEC is only supported on full zone setup. So you can't use it with CNAME setup.
Yes. Correct. So please take note on this. The reason why DNSSEC you need to use full setup, remember that because of how the DNS resolution is being created, which means that your authoritative DNS really need to give you the hash keys that you need to update into your registrar. With CNAME setup, you do not update your registrar to Cloudflare name server. So that is why you cannot use CNAME setup with DNSSEC.
Great. Thank you, Krisanti. This is just an example of, if you saw that DNSWiz.net, that the one I opened you, mine was totally all legit and all the way down. It showed all the records and DNS keys. But here, for example, you can see it's missing it. So that's one of the troubleshooting where you can have a look. Otherwise, there is a dig command that you can also go through dig plus trace by DNSSEC that you can also run it and have a look at the output if there is a DS records in place and if it's set up correctly on that. So that's another way how you'd like to use it. Right. So right now in your dashboard, you can look at it. You can enable it if you in the full zone setup, and you can see how it actually show you exactly the same screen that you see right now on the presentation. Right. So just to make sure the key takeaways on DNSSEC, so we always recommend our customers to have DNSSEC in place because you want to make sure that you protect it on all the layers, not just the standard layers, but also on DNS setup as well. Just to make sure in case if they're asking you what the algorithm they're using, Cloudflare uses algorithm 13. It may not be supported by all registrars. So again, you would need to check with your registrar on their support pages or through the support line, which algorithms they support in order to make sure that you're able to add that DNS records, DNSSEC records. Implementation, it's very simple with Cloudflare. If you use Cloudflare as a registrar and authoritative DNS name provider, we just do it for you. All you need is just to click the button and it will self-add that DNSSEC records. If not, it will show you the DNSSEC records, the one that you need to copy paste in your registrar. Troubleshooting, you have two options, DNSWiz.net, that you can see. You can do the analyze and run that analysis online, or just use a standard dig and trace. All right, so giving you words, Krisanti.
Yeah, thank you, Camilla. So now I'm going to cover about DDoS and how Cloudflare protects DDoS. I think this is also a separate topic that we created for ASA because we would like to have our partners to be able to explain to our customer why or how Cloudflare, what kind of mechanism actually we do when we do DDoS mitigation. So what is DDoS? So in case some of you does not know what is DDoS, DDoS stands for Distributed Denial of Service, or DDoS for a short term, which is a malicious attempt to disrupt normal traffic of, let's say, a targeted server or web application, service, or even the network itself by overwhelming the target and its infrastructure with a flood of internet traffic. For example, I am running a web application. Let's say I'm running one instance in my GCP. But my instance is only able to handle, let's say, 100 requests per second. But then suddenly there are these requests tries to bring down my application that is coming in 1 million per second. So of course, my infra and my instance is not fast enough to handle this kind of requests. And because of that, my application can be crashed, the server hang, etc. So the objective of DDoS attack is to bring down the server to impact or stop the service of the application. And how Cloudflare solutions that to stop this, first is through our network, what we will do is to delete the attacks. So we have a multiple mitigation methods, which I will explain later. On top of that, we have WAF, we have rate limiting, IP reputation database, and I am under attack mode. Which layers are prone to DDoS attack? So starting from the lowest layer, network layer, so it will target the network. So usually it will use layer 3 and layer 4 together. So the most common attack that is happening here is either DNS amplification or SYN flood. At the application layer, what we are seeing is HTTP flood or application-based layer. This is the detail on what is layer 3 and 4 attack details, which I am very sure all of you are very familiar with. And how Cloudflare protects against this is because it is mitigated automatically by one Cloudflare solution called Gatekeeper. I will explain more about this later. For layer 7 attack, the type of attacks that is considered layer 7 is get or post floods in HTTP DDoS, cross-site scripting, SQLI attacks. So actually this one does not really relate to DDoS attack, but this is layer 7 attacks, which is it might not be volumetric, but this is more on the quality of the attack itself. The mitigation from Cloudflare, rate limiting, firewall, I am under attack mode. But on top of that, we have other solutions like bot management. So how Cloudflare mitigates DDoS attacks in comparison to the industry standard? So the industry standard of DDoS attack mitigation is by using scrubbing center. What happens when there is an attack when existing prospect is using scrubbing center? So looking at the chart here, when there is no attack, the request that is coming, it will go directly to the colo of the security DDoS provider, and then it will go to the origin. However, when there is an attack, somebody needs to turn on a scrubbing on or off. In this case, it's on. And then the traffic will be routed to a scrubbing center. So what is scrubbing center? Scrubbing center is a data center that is able to contain a huge bandwidth, and then it's able to cleanse the traffic, so mitigate all the bad traffic, block all the bad traffic, and forward the good traffic to the origin. So with this solution, usually when there is an attack, somebody needs to turn the scrubbing on, and then the traffic will be rerouted to the scrubbing center, and before it goes back to the origin or it is being blocked. If the, in most cases, if the attack is too big that the scrubbing center cannot handle, there are chances that the traffic will need to be black holes, which means that all the good and bad traffic will need to be dropped until the attack subsides, and then they will activate again. So in this case, there will be a different user experience whenever there is an attack. So one key thing to remember when there is an attack, when the user is using scrubbing center, is that the user experience, whether it is a good or bad traffic, it will be impacted. And then there is a manual mitigation needs to be done because you need to turn the scrubbing on or off. And then it will impact the latency of all the traffic, because all the traffic, be it good or bad, will need to be rerouted to a scrubbing center before it gets forwarded to origin. So how Cloudflare protects against an attack? So you can say that essentially all of our data centers is a scrubbing center. So again, remember the life of a request that I explained earlier, whereby each and one of the data center is able to do the same functionality, in this case, security and performance, which means that if there is an attack that is coming from, let's say, a certain city or a certain region, the Cloudflare data center closest to that region will be the one that is receiving the traffic request, and then it will recognize that this is a DDoS attack, and then we will mitigate and block it at the data center closest to the attacker. Whereby using our Anycast network, all the good traffic that is coming, let's say, from the other region will still continue to get service because of the Anycast network will see this as a good traffic, and then it will flow through. So if you understand the concept of clean pipe and scrubbing center, you can say that Cloudflare has 200 over scrubbing centers around the world, which usually for the customer which already have a legacy scrubbing center solution will understand, easier to understand how the DDoS mitigation works.
Krisanti, before we move that, there is a question, and I think we just can tie it up to it. There is a question: can the DDoS mitigation automatic on when Cloudflare detects there is an attack?
Yes, exactly. Our solution is always on. There is no need to turn on, which I am going to explain in here. Gatebot and Gatekeeper. So Cloudflare does automatic mitigation to the DDoS attack. So of course, if it is a targeted attack, Cloudflare also has a set of, we call it site reliability engineers that is monitoring our network 24/7. So in situations whereby there is a targeted attack that is not being catched by gatebot and gatekeeper, definitely our SRE will do a semi-automated mitigation in order to protect our network. But in most cases, gatebot and gatekeeper will take effect first, even before we do any mitigation. So what does it mean? So this is our mechanism to detect if there is any attack and do the automatic blocking. In each and one of our data center, we actually have two mechanisms called gatebot and DOSB. So if the attack is global and the same attack comes at the same time at multiple data center, so gatebot will be the one that samples the traffic from each and one of our data centers and take a look and compare to see if there is any attack being detected. And if there is an attack being detected, then the gatebot itself will try to find the pattern and create the automation. And after it does the automation, then the gatekeeper, it will forward it to the gatekeeper to do the mitigation. So gatekeeper will be creating the firewall rules right to our database. And then we also have a gate setter, which is a daemon that it will pull the database and then update the firewall. So gatebot and gatekeeper work hand in hand. One is to detect, create a sample, detect, and then activate the mitigation. Gatekeeper is the one that is create the rules to mitigate the attack. If the attack is local, because I ever have a question from another partner to say that, what if the attack is not global? This attacker really targeting your Singapore data center, which has happened before. So we have a mitigation called DOSB, which basically does the same, but it sees the data inside the single port only. Yeah, that is someone in the chat. Oh, okay. All right.
So it's not a question. Don't worry. Yeah, it's all good.
Yes. All right. So let's move on. So how do you explain to the customer when they ask, or you need to explain about Cloudflare DDoS? So first of all is emphasize to the customer that Cloudflare is the only provider that provides an unlimited and unmetered DDoS attack protection, regardless of the size of the attack. And what are our three key features or technical advantage is, first, with the gatebot, those the gatekeeper, we have a dynamically managed IP tables that is able to provide an always-on DDoS protection. So you don't need to do anything in order to get DDoS protection. As and when you onboard to Cloudflare, even when you are using a free plan, so with free plan, then you will be protected against layer 3 and layer 4 attack, DDoS attack. Of course, with the enterprise, then you will get even more coverage and more capability with other feature and function as well. So we have auto mitigation, and then last but not least, so there might be customer that asking, so if it targets really your data center in Singapore, will your data center not become very overloaded? All your server become high utilization. So Cloudflare has a mechanism to ensure that each DDoS attack will not overheat our metals, we call it metals, because we have a mechanism to move all the attacks and gain CPU efficiency by moving the attacks goes to the user space. So with this, then all the normal traffic, all the normal requests will still go into our metals, while all the attacks traffic will be moved to the user space, and we will have more resources to handle this type of attacks. So this one is called millions of packets per second per server to be processed. So I just want to emphasize on a few things here. What are key value of Cloudflare DDoS protection? First, global anycast allows Cloudflare to absorb the attacks in a distributed manner. No need to be centralized at the scrubbing center location, because usually this vendor that has scrubbing centers, they do not have multiple scrubbing centers. Perhaps it's about 6 globally or even 10 globally. So which means, let's say my traffic is, let's say, from Philippines or maybe from Malaysia, and my scrubbing center is in Singapore. So that means in the situation of attack, my traffic will need to be routed to Singapore for a scrubbing center before it is routed back to the origin, let's say in Philippines or Malaysia. So the number of scrubbing centers is limited compared to 200 over location of Cloudflare data center. Second, again, related to global anycast network, Cloudflare dropped the traffic at edge. So all the layer 3, 4, and 7 traffic, it's dropped close to the attackers or the source. And how Cloudflare can automatically mitigate those new type of attacks. So our mechanism of using fingerprinting to look at patterns in the traffic. This is actually, and this is automated, so this causes Cloudflare to be able to respond quickly to dynamic threats. And then another key talking point to the customer is because of our cloud-based security solution, Cloudflare shares the security intelligence across all to proactively identify threats. Why we say proactively? Because maybe this is a new type of attack, and perhaps because of a new type of attack, Cloudflare recognize that this is a new type, and we use the dynamic IP tables to add this new policy into our database. However, when the second, the third, the fourth type of the same new attack comes in, then Cloudflare already has these rules in place so that it will be able to protect when the other customer gets hit. And then for our enterprise plan, Cloudflare has a capability to provide a granular control to users for a more complicated or more complex application-based attack. So again, this one is also related to bot management solution. Moving on, I would like to share this reading materials for you to understand more on how our DDoS solution works. I would actually recommend these two readings, two URLs. So no struct architecture, unmetered mitigation. This is actually really good. How you can explain how Cloudflare protects against DDoS in a layman term, not so technical term. So the problem with the scrubbing center, the bandwidth problem, and then how Cloudflare addressed that. So this is a bit dated. I mean, when Cloudflare is just in 15 Tbps of network capacity, but definitely the concept is the same. So it explains what happened in detail in each and one of our data centers. So what are the mechanisms that we use? We use the IP table, standard Linux firewall, but on top of that, we also have added additional features. For example, this other one that they mentioned. Another one that I would recommend you to read is actually also this one. So this is written by our founder, Matthew Prince, and I find this also very, very good. because it is not very technical and easy to understand. But actually, to share, Matthew himself is very technical. He can talk about how our solution works in very detail. So, yeah, I would recommend you to read 2 of these if you do not have time to read the rest, because this is how you can build your own story to explain to your own customer how we do our DDoS protection. I think that is basic, especially for when you are explaining Cloudflare to your customers.
Krisanti, we have 2 questions for you. 3 questions actually. So the first one is sometimes the mitigation rule will not match the DDoS attack. Can we able to modify the mitigation rule?
Okay, hold on. Which one is this?
It's not answered. I already answered, and
oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Can the DDoS mitigation automate?
No.
Already sometimes the mitigation rule will not match the DDoS attack. Can we able to modify the mitigation rule? Yes. So especially this is for enterprise plan. You will be able to define the mitigation rules. You will be able to create a custom threshold, whichever that is relevant to your application. And then there are some mitigation rules. I mean, there are a few options that you can do. You can either use, let's say, like rate limiting or bot management or firewall rules to customize your protection.
Yeah, I think just to add to here, Krisanti, just to say that it really depends what level talking about. So level 4 is quite limited because this is something happen on the global scale. So we do mechanisms and we're doing it very good, very efficiently. So there are options how to, for example, Krisanti said, like you can control threshold, depends on which product you're using. But in generally speaking, level 4 attacks is happening automatically and taken care automatically by Cloudflare. You have no interaction, most of it whatsoever. But on level 7, as Krisanti mentioned, you have different tools, including rate limiting, bot management, firewalls, everything to make it even more granular and efficient.
Yes, thank you, Camilla.
So there is one more question. Yep. Do you want me to read it?
Actually, there are 2.
Yeah,
let me read it. So another question, what's different when there is a DDoS attack between free and enterprise? So I think this is, actually the question comprised of a few things. So let me specify, group different things. First is the difference on the protection when you are using free and enterprise. So for free, what it's covered is only the layer 3 protection, because free is purely DNS based. So global anycast network, IP reputation, you will get that as well, and the DNS protection when you are using Cloudflare as your authoritative DNS. But if you are using enterprise, then you will have more options. For example, you can use WAF, you can use firewall rules, more firewall rules, and then other features that is not included in the free. For example, of course, if you have mobile apps, you can use Spectrum to protect against DDoS attacks. So this is not available when you are using free. And then, if DDoS attack on CGK. So regardless of where the DDoS attack is, whether it's in CGK, SIN, HKG, I mean the concept between free and enterprise is like that. So the next question is, each enterprise will be connected to SIN and free will be connected to HKG. So I think this is the question about how the traffic is routed. So the way traffic is routed at this moment is for if your eyeballs or your sources are in Indonesia, which is CGK, because the origin is in CGK, so the enterprise plan will be routed to CGK, while all the self-serve plans can be routed either to Sing or to Hong Kong. The reason why we do this is due to the bandwidth cost, or the bandwidth cost in CGK is premium, so that is why enterprise plan definitely will get the more prioritized or premium, a premium bandwidth, which is why it is being routed to CGK, while the self-serve plan will still be served through SIN and HKG. The next question, is there a way for customer to opt out of DDoS protection? No, there is no way for customer to opt out of DDoS protection. You cannot disable it. At the same time, you do not need to enable it as well. All right, I think I've answered all the questions. So now let's move on to the lab. I would like to share with you how to see the DDoS when there is an attack, because there are always, this is a very common question whether you will get any information when there is a DDoS attack happen. So if I go to the dashboard, let me go to the dashboard directly. Yeah. So if you go to, let's say this one, when you go to the firewall and then you go down at the bottom, this is where you will see if there is any DDoS attack. So if there is any mitigation, then you will see a number here, but if not, then of course it will be 0. And whether you will get alert. So this is also a requested feature that a lot of our customers have been asking. So we recently launched a feature to get the DDoS attack alert. I think this one we already covered. I mean, Camilla covered that in the ACE course. So this is a bit duplicated, but I think it is important to repeat again what are our new functionality that is available. So how to find that alert? You can go to the notifications, and then we have a few notifications that you can configure. So this is where you can see, let's say, HTTP DDoS attack alert, and then you can click next. Notification name, what is the notification zone, and then you can add the email recipient. So after that, then you can create the alert. So as and when there is an alert that is happening to your account, regardless of which zone, then you will get the alert. So the alert applies to all the domains, not only for a single zone, because there is no way for you to limit. Destinations. So alert by email, not everybody checking email. So Cloudflare also adding notification services, so you can connect Cloudflare with PagerDuty. So if you have a PagerDuty account, you want to test it out, you can connect it with PagerDuty. Or you can create a webhook so that you can get alerted whenever there is a notification happen in your account. So this one is all account level, it's not zone level. So all the domains, anything that is related to your domains will be activated, will get activated. So now the takeaways, the conclusion for the DDoS protection. Based on history, SYN and UDP floods are the most common, and this is also being verified by our latest DDoS report. So every quarter, Cloudflare will provide a DDoS reports on what is happening in our network. And in fact, we just released our DDoS report for 2020. So if you can Google, it is actually reported in our blog. It's pretty interesting to see what are the trends that you can see from globally. Who are the countries that becoming the source of the attack? Top 10 countries, and then the specification based on continent. So the top one in America, the top 10 countries where the attack coming from in Asia Pacific, in Europe, etc. In terms of the implementation, whatever DNS that is being orange clouded will automatically get protected against 3, 4, or 7 attacks if you activate, if you have the features that is related to that. So what I'm saying is, let's say for the free plan, you have layer 3 and 4 for the DNS base, but of course for the enterprise plan, you will have more attack coverage. For troubleshooting, you can take a look at the analytics, how to see whether there is a DDoS attack. You can see as the firewall events go down at the bottom. That is where you can see the DDoS alert. On top of that, we have additional new solution, BGP-based solution known as Magic Transit to secure an entire customer network. Because take note that currently, what I explained to you here, the DDoS, it's all domain name based, DNS based. But if your customer owns their own IP address, has their own IP prefix, and they do not have any protection for their IP prefix, of course, there are possibilities that the attacker attacks their network directly. They do not attack the domain name. So this is where Cloudflare Magic Transit come into the picture, because Magic Transit will protect customer IP prefix. Usually, banks will buy their own IP space, IP network. So Magic Transit is the solution to protect that. And Cloudflare has an online course in the Cloudflare University to talk more in depth about what is Magic Transit and how to sell or position Magic Transit. So with this, I will hand over to Camilla to talk more in depth about our firewall tab or firewall apps.
Great,
in the
thank you,
dashboard.
Krisanti. Let me just start sharing my screen now. And this one, certainly you would need to be pay attention on the syntaxes and everything here, because it's quite important how you write your syntaxes of that firewall rules, yeah? Right, so let's have a look closer what is available for you today under the firewall in Cloudflare. So as you can see, some of the features that Krisanti already mentioned. So it's basically you have IP firewall rules, you also have a zone lockdown rules, you have actually user agent rules, browser integrity check, IP reputation, web application firewall, and options how to do a custom logic with custom workers rules as well. So that's all is actually kind of covered in our firewall things. Before we dive into all the firewall things that you can actually do, let's have a look at the logs and information that's available for you to debug everything that's happening on the edge with the request that been passing, for example, through one of the firewall actions. So right now, you can find it under Analytics. If you go to the Analytics tab, you should be able to click on the Threats tab, and you will be able to see different types of threats that we've been seeing. And threats, it can be hot linking, browser integrity check didn't pass, IP block, country block. That's all going to appear in that tab that you will see. The rest of the spaces is actually going to be on the firewall tab. So this is where you're going to be able to see the firewall actually log journal or firewall events that you can go deep into it. And we will see in the dashboard, you also have a nice filtering analytics display where you can filter out based on different parameters. Of course, enterprise customers, they get access to our Cloudflare Enterprise raw log sharing. This is also, we're going to look at what fields available for you, so you can actually set it up on your end, for example, firewall events only. And other features like rate limiting, they also have its own graphs that you can actually see how many of that requests been blocked and been rate limiting, and etc., that you can also look at it. So that's all kind of covers with that firewall. So firewall actions, we will start with actually one of them is like an example of the IP firewall. This is where you're actually blocking or doing any other action with specific IP address. In this case, it's IPv6. You can see it's set to the block mode. That's the error that you actually receive if you try to access from that specific IP address the web resources. You will get 1106. With all the array ID and other informations, and you can see in what happened, it usually will tell you you got rate limited, you got actually your IP block or your country block. Basically, these error codes, they're super helpful. In case if your customer sees it, obviously must have a screenshot so that you can debug it further, and the explanation is usually showing you exactly what's the problem is. And you also can see it on the reports, as you can see on the analytics tabs, on the threads. You can also see that request being actually IPv6 block user. So let's move on. Capture and challenge. Capture, this is something, the challenge that we do is, you can see an example here that it's actually asks humans to proceed further. You need to check the box, I'm not a robot, and fill out the specific capture. We're working with that provider. We used to use Google, now we use an alternative provider. So they actually establishing that capture checks for us, and they've been quite good. So it's very hard to overtake or bypass this type of tests. So it's quite good if you have some of the traffic that needs to be, or access to the website that needs to be only human based. So this capture can be really quite helpful, but at the same time, you don't want to abuse your customers with it. So you can set up a specific, for example, time frame and which one capture will be established, for example. And you also can deal with the how you would like to do it. Do you want to look at the threat score, or do you want to do it on the country basis? So it's really up to you how granular or generic you want to do that rule in order to make sure that it's actually working on the content that needs to be, for example, checked, but not to put it on the all website, for example. So as you can see, the first capture is also presents that picture challenge, and that's the age capture, the alternative provider I'm talking about. So once you set up a flag, hey, don't check again the request from the same browser in the next 24 hours or whatever, you can decide it how you'd like to do that. So that's all going to be appeared in the enterprise log sharing as well as in the UI. And usually it showed that a human challenged. So either it's going to be successed or it will be failed. So you will see both actions on it as well. So you can actually work with this information. In reality, this capture solve rate on how many actually capture solved requests being processed helps a lot to identify was it something that, like, if it's too high, it means that it's actually quite a lot of humans probably got challenged, and if it's too low, it means that your rule is working quite nice. So it's really a very low percentage of false positives. So I will show you that as well. So JavaScript challenge. JavaScript challenge, this is something that we do on the browser level. This is where we inject a simple, small JavaScript in order to check that the request indeed happening, for example, from browser, from human, that it's happening, or that it's like browser to browser. So basically, this is something that helps to stop some of the basic DDoS attacks on level 7. So if you, for example, ask the question, what are the options for me I have on the free plan? That's exactly what you've got in order to protect you under attack mode. I'm under attack mode, help you to stop that kind of like a basic attacks that you can inject it. So basically, we're going to look at it also how it works. You can turn it on and you can see how it works as well, but I will show it to you. So what's happening here? it's actually, like I said, it helps with basic, but if you have quite smart bots, quite smart hackers, obviously you need a smarter, more complex tools to stop that type of level 7 attacks. In fact, all the level 7 attacks, they are the most expensive, most complex attacks for today. They are the one that actually use the most CPU. So the best thing and best mitigation is always detect it as early as possible and move with the mitigation on the level 4, for example, to start blocking it that specific patterns, specific IPs, depending on what is happening there. So you definitely need a smart system to do so. Right, so whitelisting and simulate, this is other actions that are available for you under firewall actions. So whitelisting, as you can see, if you set up in IP firewall or in firewall rules, any action to whitelist, so it will disable the following Cloudflare security features. So make sure that IP reputation won't take in place anymore, browser integrity check gonna be missed, replication firewall gonna be missed, user agent blocking, rate limiting, scrape shield, all these things is automatically become switched off as soon as you add whitelisting rule into your firewall rule or IP firewall. Yeah, so the only exception is that when we work with the country level, so whenever you set up country, even if you put whitelist country, they won't bypass replication firewall. That's just one exception. But otherwise, whitelisting basically like makes you like a green light to enter and pass through with that specific IP ranges, IPv6. So there is also a good thing that usually if you need to get a specific user's access, for example, from specific IPs, you'd rather use a zone lockdown feature to make it really granular for that specific URL path with that specific IPs. You using rather zone lockdown than IP access whitelist. So to make sure that in case if something happens there, you still got more protection than just with whitelisting open in the, let's say the back door in case if somebody like do something with this IP address. So that just for your information. Simulate mode is actually triggers and got logged in security events. You will be able to see in the UI. It's also going to be able to see it in enterprise log share raw logs. But basically it won't do any actions. It's simply just log it. Simulate equals logging. So there is no any challenge, blocking, anything going to happen. It's just log it so that you can see the rules working correctly. They triggered on specific requests that needs to be, for example, later on challenged or blocked, so that once you have that simulate run successfully with the results that you wanted within the next week or two, let's say, whatever your period is, you actually switch that rule from simulate mode from log mode to challenge or to block. So that's kind of like a very logical path to do. Whenever you create firewall rules, you don't want to affect the real traffic. You want to run it, first of all, in the simulate or log mode. And only after, when you are sure that it's all correctly triggered, you switch it to other actions. IP access rules. This is where you have level 4 firewall or IP firewall. That's the one actually works with Spectrum, works with our level 4 protection. So that's what is running on Nginx front end. So FL. In this case, what you have is like we're looking at the source IP address, the header of the IP packets. So it's happening on level 3. That's why when Krisanti mentioned level 3, level 4, basically that's where the protection is happening on that's what we have. So you can apply the rules based on domain or all your domains for that user or for that users or that within that organization. So you will see it also that you're able to do that. So it's not just apply for that specific domain, but you can apply it for all domains under that organization. Many requests also can come from a specific browser that you all know is a Tor browser. So it's actually stored in our IP access rules. That's where you also, if you type Tor, it's actually act as a country name, and you can also apply the same specific block, challenge, etc. Actions to it. So that's the actions that you have: block, capture challenge, JavaScript challenge, and whitelist for that IPs. So we can have a look at it all in the UI. That's just a screenshot where you can find all the things. You can see you always have a specific node added to it. We always recommend to add node to it, and different challenges here. Right. So before we get to this lab, let me very quickly go to the UI. So we are in the UI. So you find IP access rules under Firewall tab. Click on the tab Tools. So here, this is where you can get all the level 4 rules. So in case if you're working with Cloudflare Spectrum and you need to get some whitelist or do something with it, this is where you do your level 4 actions. So like I said, you can decide, for example, specific IP address. I will just do an example here. You can select the action from block, allow, challenge, JavaScript. Allow, it means whitelist. And you can apply to this website, which is cf-analytics.com, for example, or all websites in this account. So it means that, for example, if you have all 100 accounts that needs to do the same action, you can just do it once and you don't need to do it across all multiple times. You add node and you're good to go. So when we work with the countries, for example, I add here country, let's say like Russia, it comes up here, Russian Federation, and I can challenge or block it or JavaScript challenge. Tor browser happens exactly the same. All I need is just to write down Tor. Sorry, it's a little bit got broken here, but basically it's at the end of that line. It's written Tor. You just need to do exactly the same thing, and that's what you're going to see in the IP access rules. Right. Let's move to the lab. So before we move to the lab,
hi, Camilla.
There is a question.
Yeah, before you move, yes, there is a question. Does firewall rules apply to the whole domain?
That's right. That's right.
So,
I am right now working. You see, this one is applied to all domain. Or even all domains under my organization. So for example, if I use now Partner Bootcamp and I decide to do all websites in that account, it will mean that all of you, all your domains that is there right now will follow that rules that I have for it. Yeah, for that specific, let's say, Tor browser. It will be blocked for all of your domains. Of course, if you want to do it on other level, just specifically for that specific path, we're going to look at it under Firewall custom rules. But here, level 4 IP access rules, that's where you actually control it.
Yeah, or maybe I just added that for the firewall rules, which is at another tab, it only applies to that particular domain. Yeah. But for IP access rules, you can apply it for the whole domain in your account. So that is a huge difference.
Exactly, exactly. Great. So another questions?
Yes, there is another question.
Yeah, good question. How to create IP access rule for only Spectrum applications? So right now, if you using the whole domain, but you have specific applications that running on Spectrum, as you can see, you tied up for the whole domain. So one option, how would you do that, is the application that using Spectrum, that, for example, spectrum.cf-analytics.com, that's the one that you're interested in only to create that IP rules. I would suggest to add it separately as a subdomain on Cloudflare. So basically, you would add a site, and that application is running through Spectrum. You will add it here as a subdomain. So spectrum.cf-analytics.com, add it as a separate site. In this case, all this interface, including tools, manage rules, everything going to be just for that Spectrum app. Otherwise, you will have to do it for all domain. All right? I hope I answered your question. So let's move on and let's do the lab. Some practicing, guys. So I hope you're able to see my screen. What we want to do right now within that lab, and you should be able to do it easily, is find your current country of origin. So who is in Indonesia, in India, in Spain, in Germany, Italy. Just get that country and block that country for your specific domain that you're using, for example, using that IP access rule that I just
don't
showed.
Use the whole account.
Yeah, just remember,
do it for
your
use
specific
the whole
domain. Exactly, exactly. And make sure that you put in it, for example, on a block mode. Try to attempt it to see the result that you got it. You can paste it in the chat. What did you see there, if there is any error code specifically. And after, you can again go back and just switch off the rule or just delete the rule in order to unblock it again, your country, so that you can access it again. So we'll give you a minute or so. It should be straightforward.
Maybe more than 1 minute, yeah. Maybe we give 5 minutes.
Yep, yeah, we can do a few minutes so that you all check. And all your answers, please just post it into the chat.
So I would recommend that as you created your subdomain, make sure that you can access first your testing domain that you plan to block. Then you create the rules. So make sure you can access first. Oh, very fast. There are already has an error from Roberto. Error 1009 with Ray ID blah blah blah. Okay, so what does error 1009 refers to? Yeah, it's regional error.
Right.
All right.
Excellent, excellent.
Yes. So let me post this to all the attendees for reference. So this is what you should be looking. All right, yeah. We have another question.
Yep, let's have a look. For some reason, I'm not able to open the questions.
Okay. Custom page for error must be made per error one page or a generic. So if I understand your question correctly, for the custom page for error, would it be each error per page or generic? You need to define the error per error. So what it means, maybe Camilla, can you go to the custom page and what are the options there?
Yep. So
earlier, yeah, country block. Yep. So you can only have one for this country block. So you cannot say if it is from UK, then you want to have this error page. If you want to do in other, you want to have other error page. Unless you build it in workers, I think it is possible.
There is an option, and you can do with specific HTML tags. I just had it in my head, I don't know, 17 or something, that specific number reflects to it. You can do a localized version. So frankly, if you have need to have a different languages showed up for different people coming from different geo-location, you can do so. There is a specific...
How to do that?
Custom HTML tag that you need to include into it that actually will be serving it for you. Yes, there is an option how to do that.
Ah, that is good to know.
Perhaps
if you can send the link. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do it. So, so I hope all of you managed to do the rule. So if I go to the UI, Basically, I'm currently located in Spain. So what I need to do, I need to type my country, Spain, blog. I'm using specifically this website and add. So from that moment, if basically that's my website, you can see it was opening. So now if I open it, I'm getting that error, and I can see your IP address and the country has banned. So that's what tells me about that, where I should look for that error in case of my customers experiencing it. Otherwise, I can just delete it. Right. So I guess we can move on. Let's move on to other things.
Yes.
IP lists, that's a great thing. It actually is something that we introduced last year, but people have been asking for it for quite a while. Just to make sure in the chat we have everything good. Oh, yeah. Chrysanthi, you will, if you reinvite it, awesome.
Yes, I will update. Yeah.
So IP lists, yeah, what is that? Sometimes when you're working with rules in Firewall, so imagine that you need to pull out like, I don't know, the whole list of the rules in order to do some actions. So if you create in a firewall rule, imagine you will need to specify, yeah, if I go to like, hey, IP address equals this, you have to specify all of them, and you have, for example, 50 of them, or 100, or 20. It's just too much. So that's why we come up with IP lists. So that's the one IP list that actually will help you to already to upload the CSV file with prepared your IP list. And after all you need is just to refer to that specific IP list. I will show you where you find it. So you need to go up a level. You need to be on an account level in order to add this IP list. If you remember where you have your domains listed, your members, billing, configurations, so you need to go to configurations tab. Here in configurations tab, you have lists all the way to the bottom of that vertical menu. This is where you can add your lists. So create new list, and this is where you need to get the name, for example, IPs or maybe blocked. Make sure that it's all small letters. There is no spaces in between. So that's the look it should get. You need to add, for example, description if you need it, create. And after that, you actually can upload CSV or just start adding it one by one, whatever you need to add here. Yeah, and after you can add to list, save or upload, done. So after that, you working with that lists as you need to do and refer it to the firewall. So it's very important that you know the syntaxes, how to work with it. Otherwise, your firewall rule won't work. So if you want to refer to that rules, how to work with Cloudflare rules and firewall, I suggest you make sure you go to developers.cloudflare.com firewall. In this firewall, you will find firewall rules language, rules lists, field and expressions, everything that you need to know about it. I suggest you definitely bookmark it because it all explains to you how to work with it. For example, manage list items and IP addresses, how to get at it, how to get it into that specific rule, how to add it in there. So this is all explained it here. So within that, there is another lab. I'm curious if you're able to find it just simply by going to firewall rules, list IPs, add into firewall, but basically that's what we're expecting you now to try to do that and accomplish. So what you need to create a simple IP list that you just seen under your configurations account and just add it there your own IP address. For those who know how to find your own IP address or you don't know, you need just to Google it, what is my IP address? It will show your IP address of your current provider where you are in. Add that IP address to the IP list and go into the firewall rules, managed rules, for example. You can challenge that IP address, but you need to do it with reference to that IP list. So, and check if the rule takes effect, if you got blocked or not, and here you go. So I will give another minute to a couple of minutes, so you can do that. You can try to figure out yourself. If not, we just look together and I will show you how to do that.
Yeah, just take note that IP list is account based on the whole account. So make sure that your IP list is unique to you. Another good question coming up now. Is there a limit of IP list? No, there is no limit to an IP list, how many IP you need to get. Another question.
Yep.
Get an error because an account is at maximum number of lists. You can have 10 lists. To create a new list, remove any unused list first.
Yeah, maybe
there is no list that, or is it part of the entitlement that I configured earlier?
If we go to the partner bootcamp, it's probably already we have lots of the lists in the configurations. So as you can see, in configuration lists, so we probably would need to do some cleanup. But in reality, just only 10. So it's probably part of the entitlements that we have only 10 of them.
Okay, maybe I need to
just need to increase the number. Okay, but yeah, probably because it's a part of the backend entitlements where usually by default we're giving you 10, and after you can increase to unlimited or up to 10,000 lists. So right now we just whoever able to achieve it, great. Who not, I'll just show it to you how to do that. So first of all, I'm gonna go to another account so that I'm not interfering with it. So what is my IP? That's my IP that I have. I simply copy it and I created a list. That's it is what it contains only that specific my IP. Yeah, IP address here. And you can see this is my IP is the name of my list, so that the one I later on refer into the firewall rules. So once I create it, now I can go to the cf-analytics.com firewall tab, firewall rules. This is where I want you to create that rule. So in firewall rules, I need to create a firewall rule. This one, for example, block my IP field. Here we need to select IP address, and you can see you could do equals to, but this one will require you to put the IP address itself. So in your case, you would need to do is in list. So that's the list that you have it here. And you have options also is not in the list. So it really depends on your rule. It showed me that's the record that I have it here. That's the one that I want to go with. And you can see expression preview is also immediately actually showed you how it would look like if you just do the expression wise. So you want to make sure that it's in and the action set to the block. So if there is no errors, yeah, I have already a duplicate of it, so that's good. So I have that challenge my IP here. Address is on, so make sure that that's the right one. Yeah, and I want to do it to block, so it's actually should called block and save. So basically now, if I try to access it, it should show me that I a problem with my access here. And you can see it's a different one, access denied. That's the one you're getting when your IP got blocked. So we changed the number, and you can always follow up and see actually what's happening. At the same time, you will be able to see it in overview. It just for enterprise, it will appear probably in the next couple of millions. But basically, if I go down, I can see the firewall rules, the one that got triggered, and for example, find that block my IP, and I can filter it based on that specific request. Right now, I don't think it's yet populated and went through, but we can actually have a look. There is a couple of them on, for example, you can see on country, but not yet triggered and appeared here, blocked the IP. So it still takes time before it will show up. All right, so I hope you all clear on that rule, how we created it. So if there is any questions or anything.
Yeah. Just want to add, Camilla, that I already updated the number of IP lists in the entitlement. So now it should go up to 1,000. So for those attendees, you can try again and just refresh your dashboard, and you can test out.
will be doing. But just because to be mindful of the time, we still have quite
Yes,
content
you
to
can.
go.
Yeah,
Let's move forward.
correct. Yeah.
Okay, so there is one update for you guys, so that, as you know, Cloudflare is keep working constantly on the Cloudflare UI dashboard. So there will be some changes, and we want to give you a heads up of some changes. So some of you know that we have a zone lockdown separately in our UI under IP tools. So it's gonna be actually migrated to firewall rules. In reality, whatever we want to do in zone lockdown rule, we can do it in firewall rules. So now it's all will be under one main part. So if for some reason you're not looking for zone lockdown, it's actually gonna move to firewall rules. So let me very quickly show it to you. So basically right now you will find zone lockdown is here, all the way down under IP rules. So we pass in rate limiting, we pass in by user agent blocking. So basically user agent blocking also at some point will be migrated into firewall rules, because it's actually obsolete to have them here when you can have one interface where you can build the same rules with. So that's why, just give you a heads up, it's gonna go to the firewall rules. In this case, when you create it, you will have that zone lockdown and user agent blocking all available here. So going forward, so you want to make sure that you also recognize the errors in case if you get in a zone lockdown error, you will be in the 1106. So that's, you want to make sure that you're also familiar with it. And zone lockdown, this is something that I didn't explain how it works. It's basically if you have a specific URL, for example, some admin page, some login page that only specifically needs to be accessed from that limited numbers of IPs, then you would need to specify that specific URL or URLs and specify IP addresses from which one this part of the website, this part of the URLs should actually access to. And just click save and deploy. So as you can see, it's exactly the same logic as firewall rules, and hence it will be moved there. Right, user agent blocked, it's also the same thing. All you need to do is just to make sure that you have your user agent added into the field and select the action what you'd like to do it. For example, you know that this is user agent that been used by malicious bots, and you don't want them, you want to block them, they want to challenge them. You just copy and paste it into firewall rules or user agent block field, and it's done. But as you can see, user agent is very easy to imitate and did it. So sometimes it's not just enough to work with user agent. You need much more granular rules to do. Browser integrity check. So this is something that you will be able to find under settings tab in firewall. And this is something that looking at the bad behavior, and if there is any, for example, HTTP headers that been abused most commonly by spammers, or for example, missing user agent, everything that it actually looks broken in the request, especially in that headers and user agents, it's actually gonna get like browser integrity check triggered. And if you want to bypass it, you can do so. You can switch it off for the whole website, or you can bypass it or disable it for that specific URL. And I will show you where it is and how to do that. So we need to go to the settings, and you need to scroll all the way down, and you will find browser integrity check. By default, it's off. If you want to turn it on, it means that it's turned on for the whole website, for the whole cf-analytics.com traffic. But if for some reason I need to do it only for specific, maybe API or maybe login page or whatever, that I know that I don't need there my browser integrity check, you need to create a specific page rule, specify your URL, analytics.com, for example, /admin.php, whatever you'd like to do that for. Find the browser integrity check and switch it off. So that's what you need to do, or switch it on if it's switched off for the rest of it. So it's really that easy and simple. All right. So IP reputation and security level, that's the one that actually we've spoken on ACE training, but those who didn't access ACE, if you'd like to get idea what's happening there, basically when we work with requests, we always looking at their IP reputation. So we have several databases that we use. Cloudflare databases is also enormous and huge. We see over 1 billion IPs for the next 24 hours. We also use others. And as you can see, for example, IP reputation here is collected from the project honeypot. You can also look at it, how it works. But what it takes into consideration is your security level that is set in Cloudflare. By default, security level, when you add domain on Cloudflare, is set on medium, which means that it's looking at the threat score from 0 to 99, and accordingly to it actually acts. So when we're looking at the threat scores of IP reputations and their threat score is greater than 14, so in this case, it will look actually how much this IP been used, for example, for attacks, for some malicious content, or for example, other things that actually been done through it. And it either, for example, issue a challenge for them, but it has to be really something that the IP address been used quite a lot for that threatening. Yeah. If you set up to the high, in this case, everything above 0 will be challenged. Yeah, so it means that all the requests, you want to improve your security, or maybe on specific part of your website that you know is being like really abused, you can set the high mode with page rules and make sure that it's actually running with the challenges on it. So if somebody visitor working from one of the countries that maybe was in the threatening countries, or their IP's been used, for example, a lot for attacks, so the normal human being, they will be able to pass by this challenge captcha, and within 14 days, they won't actually should be able to have any issues with it. But again, depends on from where they come in and what the requests look like. You also have I'm under attack mode, and this is something that only used when you are under attack. So it will help you. It will add the JavaScript injection into the pages so that actually it will be able to recognize the human, for example. The request is done by humans. And if you do essentially off or low, it basically makes the request that may be supposed to be blocked should be challenged. And with off, it's basically get only those who really proven being the worst reputation gonna be blocked. So let me show you this part of the website of Cloudflare dashboard where you're gonna find it. Again, it's under tab Firewall. We have that settings here. So the security level is here. You see by default it's medium. But what's going to happen if I put I'm under attack mode? So right now my website is I'm under attack. So what I need to do is basically I'll try to reach out to my website. Sorry, first of all, I need to get rid of firewall rules to block my IP. Sorry, that I need to actually, switch this one off. Should be switched off. So now it might take a couple of seconds before it actually goes through. Okay, let me just in case I will delete it so that it's not there.
Yeah, maybe you open incognito mode.
Incognito, yep. That's what I'm gonna do. Because I have lots of different rules to try with, and this is what look like I'm under attack mode. You see, we're doing a browser integrity check before we show the content of the page. So you can see you have that JavaScript challenge, and you will see it also in the Cloudflare overview and analytics, and also in the raw logs as well. So now you're familiar with it. So this is what is happening when you turn on I'm under attack mode, and after you can switch on back. That's exactly the same feature when you create a firewall rule, for example, and you have that JavaScript. You see this JavaScript challenge, it's exactly what we're using for I'm under attack mode. So if you see that, that's exactly the same what we apply here. So now you're familiar with it. Right, so within that, I think that's all the material for today. Krisanti, give over the word to you.
Yes. Yep. Okay, so today we already completed the first section for the ASA. We are covering the basic of the DDoS IP access rules. Tomorrow, we are going to cover the rest of our security portfolio. So starting with the firewall rules, that is the most important to how to customize and build the firewall rules. And then we will talk about bot management because it is also very closely related to firewall rules, because the rules in bot management, you build it from in the firewall rules. And then rate limiting, how to customize your traffic when you want to configure rate limiting, spectrum. And yeah, so that will be the coverage for tomorrow. If you have any other topics that you would like to be covered, you can let us know. If the time is enough, we will also help you to cover that as well. So with that, then I think that's all for today. Thank you for attending, and see you again tomorrow at the same time. If you still have time, I will stay over for the next 5 minutes, and then we will close this session.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Just one recommendation, like for sure, go to the developers.cloudflare.com and look at the firewall and other products, because this is your go-to place. So I would certainly recommend you to bookmark it, because you find there everything. And also, whenever you don't know how to do it, Google it. I'm sure one of us or previous customers or engineers already asked that in community pages or in support pages. Most likely this information going to be available there.
Yeah, and I will also send an email, follow-up email tonight on the partner resources material as well as the recording for today.